it. Welcome to a special live edition of Comics League Indie Wednesday. I'm your host, Jared, the Lord of Comics, and today I have a very special guest. I have Ty the Art Guy. What's up, dude?
Hey, man. Thanks for having me on.
Anytime, dude. Anytime, dude. So the way I normally do this is that I normally I have a couple of icebreakers that I normally ask my guests, and we get into it. So the first one is, what got you into comics?
It was a couple different things. The main one I go with, though, is I was trying to write a novel.
Okay.
And I wanted to draw different pictures in the novel. Mm-hmm. And I started realizing I was spending as much time drawing as I was writing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I felt really stupid that I hadn't thought about comics, and it's been straight from there.
Nice. Yes, I can relate because I too started writing a novel, and then partway through that, I got into comic books. So I was like, okay, wait a second, why am I doing this?
Yeah, it was a little tricky too, because when you're writing a novel, you can be very long-winded if you want to be.
Oh yes.
You cannot do that unless you're Chris Claremont in comics.
Yeah. Chris Claremont, Grant Morrison, maybe Bendis. There's a certain few people you can do.
Yeah, I mean, some of those writers, you could get away with like a half inch of art on the page, and you're like, no, I'm fine with this. But so that's pretty much where I started, and I was also watching a lot of videos on YouTube that introduced me to the comics collecting side of it. So I started out with a bunch of mainstream stuff collected for maybe like a year and a half or so. Mm-hmm. But then I realized I was kind of hoarding more than reading. And at $4.99 a pop, that's why I switched over to indie.
Okay, that works.
Because then, you get more excited than, at least me personally, more excited because you're like, ooh, I'm waiting for the book. I know what I'm getting. I've had to go the extra mile. It's not just, oh, this is on the shelf, I'm going to grab it. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much how I got into it. And I haven't turned back, and I hope never to.
That's a great attitude. With me personally, it was the announcement of the Snyder Cut is what got me, at least, because I had like a couple, but it was more like, it wasn't something I was like really into. And then the Snyder Cut happened, and then for some reason it just got me in a vice. So I'm like, I really can't escape even if I wanted to. But that's the way it normally works.
And I like to hear that, because I have come across a few, let's call them purists, that if I go, oh, I really like the X-Men show growing up, that's not comics.
Oh gosh, the purists annoy the hell out of me, because they're like, if Superman doesn't have his shorts, he's not Superman. And I'm like, what does that have to do with the actual portrayal of Superman?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'll go purist when it's weird stuff. Like, if it's a super powered person and they replace them with someone that doesn't have the same powers and call them the same name, that's when I'll be like, no, Spider-Man kind of has to have spider powers. That they haven't done that one, but that's a good example.
You never know. Or like, Superman's not from Krypton, he's from Florida. And he's Florida Man. But it's like, as long as they get the overall gist of because particularly when it comes to movies and like other media, a lot of the stuff in the comic books is not going to translate well to like a screen.
I agree. It is getting a little better now, even though the CG is still not quite there. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if you watched the Fantastic Four movies back in the day. They were good for what they were.
2 of them.
Yeah, I like with all the multiverse, I really want Chris Evans to be Johnny Flame and Captain America in the same movie.
That'd be awesome. What I would love is if he shows up in Deadpool and Deadpool goes, shouldn't you be throwing a shield at me at some point?
Yep.
That would be so good. But yeah, it's like, I watched all the really bad comic book movies like Fan Four Stick, which was an insult to comic book fandom. I can't believe that movie ever got off the ground. But it's like there's so many good ones that get ignored because the purists try and ruin it for everyone else. So I'm like, oh gosh, guys.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is a problem with all fandoms as far as I've been able to find.
Yeah, that's true. And particularly one that has existed for so long as comics, because when you think about it, comics have been around since like 1930s. So you're gonna have like the hardcore loyalists, which is great because you want fans to actually be passionate and invested in this. But sometimes it can go a little bit like I did a video. Here's a funny comic story for you. So the character in the comics that I can't stand the most is Lois Lane. So
Okay.
I did a video talking about how she's not that essential anymore to Superman, particularly the way they write her now, and he should be with Wonder Woman instead. I got torn apart in the comments section, bro.
I do not doubt that for a second. And
And
I'm
what's
also
funny,
thinking of
yeah, go ahead.
Mallrats, if you ever saw Mallrats.
Oh yes, I did. I know exactly what you're talking about.
But we're going to keep it PG.
Yeah, but it's like, and I also, you know, it's kind of funny. There were as many people as they were hating on me. There were more people saying, "Thank God someone said it."
Yeah, it's hard with her because you're right. She was essential to his storyline.
Yeah,
At least my take on it was she was kind of one of his bridges to humanity.
yeah,
And I don't think she's really. It depends on which one. Like beforehand, we were talking about Superman and Lois,
yeah.
which yeah, she's going to have to be in that.
Yeah, she's in the title.
But I don't think she was in Smallville for very long, if at all.
I think she was in. I think she showed up like midway through the show. I think Nick and the Phoenix Express would know this better than I can, but I'm fairly certain she entered and when was like a series regular halfway through the show. But my particular point was is that in the comics, because really when you think about it, the way I always address the whole link to humanity is that, yeah, but he also was raised by humans for so many years to the point where he didn't even know he was Kryptonian. He always saw himself as human. And Batman tells him this. He says, ultimately, you just see yourself as a human that's being raised as that just has powers. But in addition, really here's the thing. And this all stemmed because I was reading a Superman comic and it's like Lois was in danger and it was a modern Superman comic. And I went, so he's going to save her. And I just said, as a writer myself, I'm like, if there's no stakes, I'm sorry. Why should I care?
That's completely true. I have a problem with prequels for that exact reason. Because no matter how good of a movie it is, you know how it ends.
Yeah. Except for like Wonder Woman, because that one was like a little more like separated. And plus, Wonder Woman has to show up at one point.
Exactly. I mean, you totally that first Wonder Woman movie, excellent in my opinion. Fantastic, very well done. I thought it was done in such a way that there could have been obvious comparisons to the first Captain America movie, and there weren't.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was all really well done, and and since that one was set so far back, you could reasonably say, if you don't know the comics especially well, every other character but her could have died.
Yeah.
So there's still stakes for all of them. I'm thinking more like Rogue One, which I know a lot of people really like. To me, I'm like, I know all of these characters are going to die at the end because they're not in the rest of the movies.
True. That's true. That's a good point.
And I know that they will get the plans because they have the plans in A New Hope.
Yes, you're right. That is the problem with doing here's how it happened. Because I'm like, yeah, it's cool to have this information, but again, it's like, I know what's going to happen.
Yeah, so I'm with you. And it's the same thing when you have the constant damsel in distress. And I've even seen them make fun of that in DC stuff where, oh, of course, Lois Lane is in danger. Oh, I wonder what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Mary Jane's in danger. Oh, I wonder if Spider-Man's going to save her.
And then they went, oh, Gwen Stacy's in danger. Oh, no.
Yeah, now I think last I heard there's like 4 or 5 different Gwen books now.
Yeah, because that's Spider-Gwen, Gwenpool, blah, blah, blah. It's again, no one dies in comic books. So it's like, yeah, there you go.
And if they do, there's a multiverse.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, to a certain degree, I like the concept of the multiverse, but it's just an excuse for really lazy writing at this point.
It can be for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It can be.
But it's like the reason why I dig the Superman with Wonder Woman more as opposed to Superman and Lois is because I think that because ultimately the way I at least see it, Superman's always going to be holding a part of himself back. He's always going to be hiding a certain portion of himself, no matter who he's with. But with Wonder Woman, he doesn't have to because she's exactly like him. Exactly, it's a very generous term, but the point is that she understands exactly what he goes through, both as a human and as a superhero.
Yeah, that makes complete sense to me.
Yeah, and they even did that in the New 52, because what they did was Jim Lee was like, okay, so let's change this up. Let's maybe have him not married to Lois. Who's the next logical choice? Wonder Woman. And then they explored that. They had their own series and stuff. And then, of course, the Superman purists came out of the woodwork. And by the way, they don't buy the book based on sales. That's my other favorite type of fan. The ones that complain but don't buy the books.
That's one of the reasons I try not to complain about a bunch of things.
Yeah, because
I can't.
Yeah. But
if I'm not supporting it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And here's the kicker. The Superman and Wonder Woman book that they did outsold every single Clovis book that came out afterwards. And they abandoned it. But that's just DC. They've been making a lot of really questionable creative decisions.
Yeah, a lot of, I want to say studios. I know it's not exactly a studio for a comic, but the crossovers, Marvel in general, both movie studio, comic studio, DC, and some other ones. I don't understand what they do sometimes.
Well, yeah, anyone that has been following the DC movies for any amount of time knows that I don't think these people know what they're doing.
And they've had like what, 4 or 5 different people in charge of DC at Warner Bros. Since Batman versus Superman, something like that.
Yeah, it's like, and each one of them was supposed to be like the guy, which is like, okay, Jeff Johns. Then you had like Walter Hamada, and he tanked it. Then now you have like James Gunn and Peter Safran, which I'm not convinced are going to be able to fulfill their tenure.
I will say I enjoyed Peacemaker a lot more than I thought I would.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that's going to translate to the more serious characters, though.
Because he's writing Superman, and I'm like, see, I get why people are like, oh yeah, no, James Gunn can do great character moments and stuff, but I've seen his humor and it doesn't work for Superman, and I'm concerned he's gonna try and put it in there.
Yeah, that's always going to be a concern, unfortunately. I mean,
Yeah.
nothing against the dude.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely made some good movies,
Mm-hmm.
but he started out as a trauma director.
Yeah.
And I can still see some of that in most of his work, and I just don't see that as Superman. I could see some of that working as like if he was doing Batman and throwing that in for the Joker.
Or even for like the Suicide Squad or like Harley Quinn, he could do that.
Yeah. But we'll see.
We'll see.
I'll go watch it if it's any good.
Yep. I'm going to give it a shot because, it could wow me. I mean, I was one of the people that were like freaking out when Ben Affleck was cast as Batman, and then he ended up surprising me. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. But so first thing I want to talk about is your comic project. So I'm going to share a screen and then you can just start talking about it.
All right. Sounds like a plan, man.
All right, here we go.
And I don't know. There's a video. It's only about 30 seconds. I don't know if you want to play that or not.
Sure. Just let me. I'm going to put this on a Google tab because for some reason StreamYard is really weird with tabs that are not Google. All right. So give me 1 second. But in the meantime, why don't you tell the audience like where the idea for this story came from?
Okay, well, this actually tied in a little bit to the novel writing process I was talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I had this idea of setting a story that had like a global span of characters, and it was going to be in the early 1500s.
Mhm.
and I had characters from Europe, Africa, Middle East, and Asia. And once I started working on comics, I started doing a few little 8-page story things that I was trying to submit to anthologies.
Mhm.
And I went, okay, I really dig this samurai character. Let me do an 8-page story, see how that goes.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, it was rejected. So I started writing some other things, and I just kept coming back and going, if I add this to that story, it'll be better. It'll be better. I like this. I like that. And then before I knew it, I had a graphic novel of 72 pages.
Oh wow, that's quite an escalation right there.
Exactly. And it kept going because this book is actually a prequel to the
Mhm.
graphic novel. It's
Okay.
the origin story of the character whose name is The Undying.
Okay.
You don't need to have read the graphic novel to understand the prequel.
Okay.
Like I said, it's an origin story. It's a bit of who he is when he gets his powers, how he gets his powers, and the mindset that leads to the journey that's in the graphic novel.
Okay. Cool. So let's check out this trailer, and I believe it should be sharing sound. Hopefully, if it isn't, just let me know. Sweet. The art looks actually really cool. I dig that art style.
Thank you very much. I know it's not necessarily traditional comic art, but I really like detailed work, like Jim Lee, Greg. I never pronounce his last name right.
Capullo.
Capullo. Yeah,
Yeah. There you go.
thank you. I can't pronounce anything ever, which
Credit for
is
trying.
which is funny because I have a friend that lives in Japan and speaks Japanese.
Hmm.
So I tried to talk to her about some of the creatures I put into this book, and I never pronounce them right, no matter how many times she's like, "No, it's kappa, not kappa, kappa." So I apologize for that, but uh, I'm not to that level.
Hmm.
But I do like adding detail, and I do a lot more in my inks
Hmm.
than I think I would do otherwise. Uh, yeah, sorry, long-winded way of saying thank you.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, and it's a unique art style that I think works for the tone of the book, and that's really what's important. As long as it like works for the story, it's awesome.
Well, I'm glad you dig it, and I do have a few more examples
Sweet.
set up when you want to get to that, but we can do the campaign first.
Yeah, let's do the campaign first, and then we'll do that. So tell us about the campaign.
Okay, so this is just the preview campaign at the moment.
Hmm.
So I was a little limited by Indiegogo on what I can put. So as I said, this is a prequel, and it's the story of how he became the Undying,
Okay.
and it's not a spoiler since it's in the graphic novel. He's basically immortal.
Okay.
He dies, but then he comes back to life, and it's reverse whatever happened to make him die. So if his arm gets cut off, then his arm reattaches itself as he's coming back to life. So he feels the pain twice.
Oh,
First,
geez, that's
first
awesome.
how it goes through, and then he comes back from it. So I go into a little bit more detail about how he gains that power, and he's on a mission to save humans from these creatures of folklore and myth. And I'm really trying to sprinkle in my limited knowledge of Japanese history throughout these books.
Hmm.
I don't want to go too deep into it because I'm just not as informed as I want to be.
Hmm.
But I've been researching all these different characters and their attributes, and I'm trying to tie that into the narrative structure.
Hmm.
So this one, He's going to be fighting these giant spiders, which are, I'm going to try to pronounce it right. I'm probably going to pronounce it wrong. Sorry.
Oh, good.
Ugoma.
Okay.
Ugomo, I believe is how it's pronounced. And they're basically a spider bull hybrid creature.
Okay, that works.
So these are the first creatures that he encounters after gaining his powers.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a little bit of the action scene so people can see how that goes. It's there on the page.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one next to it is the final page of the book, which is this other world where these creatures came from and these
Mm-hmm.
portals that were opened up at the same time he gains his power.
Okay,
So,
that works.
so the story has an end, but it also has these things are popping up all over the world, so I can keep going and doing more stories, which I'd really like to do.
So in other words, it kind of ends on a beginning.
Pretty much.
That works. I like that.
So what it's 24 pages,
Okay.
full color. All the colors are like what you're seeing on the screen now.
Mm-hmm.
I got lettered by Gingerton, as he goes by online.
Mm-hmm.
Really good guy. He does a show too with his buddy Pedro. It's Ginger and Pedro show.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if you heard of it. And I also got a great editor. I was lucky; she helped me a lot on my first book. Her name's Kayla. So she's been helping me from the first one, and I'm just lucky I got both of those people because I was doing everything myself on the graphic novel,
Mm-hmm.
and while I'm very proud of it, I think it looks good. The letters on this one are so much better,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll be showing you some of those lettered pages
Sweet.
in a few here.
Sweet. So yeah, it looks great, and I'm really excited.
I am too, and thank you very much. I'm currently working on a sequel to the prequel, so
A
so
sequel to the
hopefully,
prequel. That's interesting.
yes. Something that gets brought up in the graphic novel is his weapon. So how he's getting that is another story I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
I originally was thinking I could do another graphic novel, but that could be cost prohibitive to people.
Okay.
So I thought, let's do a couple of shorter ones, less expensive. Shipping isn't as much. That way, people can see the story if they like it. Then I
Mm-hmm.
could put it together in a graphic novel later. Uh, just wanted to give more options because everyone's complaining about the economy, so I don't want to sound like a broken record. But comics can get expensive, so I wanted to do a little bit shorter one since my first one out the gate was $25 plus shipping and all that.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And yeah, that's honestly a good way to go if you're starting out to get them a little taste and then collect it later into a book so you can get the full story.
Yep, that's my main plan, and I also shipping. When I went, I talked to a couple different places. International shipping is just not feasible for me at my level because they were saying that it was going to be about $30 to ship internationally
Oh,
for
geez.
the floppy in a
Mm-hmm.
Gemini mailer. So the other thing I'm doing is all my campaigns will have a digital version available. And
Mm-hmm.
what I'm doing on top of that, so that people don't miss out, is if there's stretch goals, which this campaign will have, I'm going to put the stretch goals in with the digital file, so they're not missing out on that.
Mm-hmm.
So my last one, I did like a portrait of the Undying as one of the stretch goals, so that went into the digital file. And there's also going to be an exclusive image that'll just be in the digital.
Oh, that's cool. You're tempting the completionist in me.
Well, that wasn't exactly the goal, but that's a good side effect.
That's a really good side effect, dude. So, what else have you got to show off?
Give me a second to do some
Yep.
screen shares. Do you want to see? Oh, I also didn't mention real quick.
Yeah.
Um, my first campaign, just because I wasn't sure how it was going to go, I had a painting as one of my
Mm-hmm.
tiers. It
Mm-hmm.
was a castle with
Mm-hmm.
some uh, bamboo painted around the edges, cherry blossoms, that thing went in the first hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a lot of people saying that they were mad that they missed out. So I'm having these little 4x6 paintings.
Is that
There's
this?
going to be, yeah, there's that. There's 2 different styles that I'm doing, and so they're going to kind of be custom.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got 10 of those will be available, and I'm thinking about doing some 8x10s. It'll depend on how interested people are.
Mm-hmm.
So I have those 2. So do you want me to start with the lettered pages,
Sure.
the covers? Okay, lettered pages.
Alrighty. So let's see what you got. But yeah, and I definitely agree that a lot of campaigns essentially ignore the digital component, and it's definitely a good idea to include a digital component for like international people.
Exactly. And
Mm-hmm.
it's also, there's been some books I really wanted to get and I just couldn't afford it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, man, if there was only a digital copy.
Exactly.
So, and I'm not even doing the same thing as the uh, uh, major studios where it's, oh, buy a digital copy for the same as the print copy.
Yeah.
So digital is going to be cheaper,
Mm-hmm.
which I hope also helps people be able to get
It
into
most
the
likely
book.
will. It most likely will.
So this is the first page of the book,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of thrown in the audience into the situation because the character doesn't know how he's in the situation.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
So he's just waking up. There's some dude performing a ritual, and he's confused and tied to a table.
That's quite a way to wake up.
So
Happens to
I don't
everyone.
want to. I don't want to get too into all the details of the story, but there is a ritual that gets explained and how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's starting here, and then I'll get you another screen real quick.
Sweet.
Now this one's not on the pre-launch, but it will be on the main campaign,
Okay.
mainly because it's my favorite page.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Everyone has their babies. Oh, that's cool.
So this is after the ritual, and he's waking up again, not knowing what the hell happened to him.
Okay.
A little bit of symmetry rhyming in the book.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I had a lot of fun on this one with different color styles
Mm-hmm.
because it does all basically take place in the same location. So I really tried to up my game on borders. That's why this one's electric.
Yeah, that looks really cool. I love when comics do that when they get creative with the actual borders between the panels.
Yeah, it does help, especially to make it break up the pages a little bit more, so it's not monotonous going through the whole thing and having just one look the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So
Plus the
yeah,
fact with the context of the story, it works, particularly because each panel seems to be in first person view. So it kind of looks like this is what he's seeing.
that was my intention. I'm glad that conveyed.
Good. All right. Awesome.
I actually originally, when I inked it, because what I do is I pencil, I ink on physical paper,
Mm-hmm.
and then I do Photoshop for all the coloring and additions,
Mm-hmm.
and then I throw it into a different digital program called Procreate,
Mm-hmm.
because I can do a little bit more drawing on that. So that's the little spikes off the lightning bolt and off the
Okay.
portals.
Mm-hmm.
That's the type of stuff I would do in Procreate.
Okay.
But
That makes
originally, I had the bottom page upside or panel upside down,
Mm-hmm.
because in my head he's tilting his head back, looking behind him, so it would be
Mm-hmm.
upside down. That did not read properly, so
Okay. Okay.
so it got switched around. But that's one of the reasons that I love having a good editor
Mm-hmm.
who's not afraid to tell me, no, that does not work. You need to redraw that. You need to change that.
Yeah, because I'm imagining it right now, and it would look a little disorienting if that were upside down.
Yeah, I do have a little bit of like the black border, like you see when they're waking up,
Yeah.
but it does get lost in.
Hmm.
So I'm glad I do some digital stuff instead of having to redraw the whole page.
Yeah, that's the advantage of drawing on digital because it's gotta be a pain in the ass to make a mistake, and then you're like, oh no.
Yeah, sometimes my editor forgets that I start with actual drawings,
Hmm.
so she's like, "Everything's good, but the face. Can you just redraw the face?" No, no, I can't.
Trying to redraw the whole thing?
So I've been getting better at figuring out how to just manipulate small areas
Hmm.
to do the little changes. But I'm so happy that I'm not making comics in the 80s because I would have to redraw a lot.
Oh jeez. There's a reason why those guys are known as legends.
Yes, they definitely earned their paychecks. That is for dang sure.
Exactly. But I definitely dig the whole first person perspective too, because I think it's like it's an idea that's I don't think is explored in comics enough. Having like at least some panels being first person, because I think that'd be really cool in like superhero books to like see like their perspective on like if they're going in for a punch or something like that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Especially like I know you like Superman, seeing him
Hmm.
flying around and in the middle of a flying fight from his
Hmm.
perspective could definitely be very cool. It's
Or like
tricky though.
seeing, or like seeing if there's like a red like filter while he's using his heat vision.
That I agree. Uh, and I think I can say this without spoilers since we know that there are giant spiders now. I do have a panel later where it's through the spider's perspective.
Oh, that's cool.
So I fractaled it, I think is the word. So it's got a bunch of little different images all in the eye shape.
Uh, it's like a kaleidoscope, in other words.
Yes,
Oh, that
like a
works. That works.
kaleidoscope.
I like that.
So I'm pretty proud of that panel too. Unfortunately, with 24 pages, you can't really show everything.
Yeah.
So that's why I had to go with this one. And my back pre-launch backers, I sent them one of the pages that I'm not going to show anywhere else,
Hmm.
just as a thank you for supporting me right off the bat. Here's a page that no one else is going to get. So that's my letterer's favorite page. That's
Hmm.
why I went with that one. And then this one's my favorite. So
Yeah, it looks cool. I definitely like it.
I appreciate it. It was the first page I drew for the book.
Really?
Yeah, I was done with the other one. I was just sketching out ideas, and it's in the middle of the book, and it was the first page I drew. So it also gave me a good roadmap of okay, this is where it needs to go because I really like this page. How do I make sure that I can get there without forcing it to be there?
Hmm.
How did he get to this position? So that was also helpful in a weird way as the writing standpoint.
Yeah, that makes sense. And again, this is why I recently got really into indie comics, because they're doing stuff like that like the mainstream industry just for some reason refuses to do, and it just adds value to it, and it differentiates you from like the mainstream, in addition to it mostly being higher quality work.
Well, I'm definitely trying, and it's funny you mentioned that. I got to tell this story if you don't mind.
Sure,
It's
sure,
my
sure.
favorite backhanded compliment I've ever gotten in my entire life.
Okay, okay.
When I was going weekly to my local comic book shop, you see the same people there because
Yeah.
their work schedule, and the manager there. I was really excited. It was my first book that will probably never see the light of day. Looking at the artwork now, in comparison, but I was really proud of it, and it was another one of the characters from that joint team up I was mentioning earlier.
Hmm.
So I went in and I showed him I had the first 12 pages, and he was looking through it, and he's like, "Well, you're definitely still an amateur, but it's better than a lot of things I'm seeing coming out of the big two right now."
Hey, That's good. That's good.
I'm like, I'll take it.
That's such a good one. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. I actually took a trip because unfortunately the shop's not that close to me,
Hmm.
so it's a bit of a trek to get there. But I happened to be going over that direction for something else, and I was like, I'm going to just throw him a copy of my graphic novel and remind him of this. And he did not remember it, but he said, "Yeah, sounds like a dick move, I would say."
That's awesome. I love that. That's funny.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's good. And it's true though, because a lot of this is coming from more from passion as opposed to like to a certain degree to a certain degree less of it as a commodity and more because we just love the medium.
exactly. And no fault to the people that are doing it
Mhm.
professionally at the big companies. Their deadlines are just, oh my god. I It's taken me the better part of a year to do my book. Now that
Mhm.
is the pencils, the inks, the colors. So if I was just doing one, might be a little different, but I can't imagine having to put out a monthly book.
There are
And
books that have to go out weekly. Imagine that.
yeah, I just so no not giving them crap. I know they work hard. So
Yeah. Mhm.
just want to make sure I'm not being like,
Oh
"Oh,
yeah.
I'm so much better than them."
Well, yeah, but point is like the big two would never like allow like all this cool stuff to go through because a lot of them are like, well, it has to. It's always been this way, and how has that worked out for you?
That's true. There is a problem with convention sometimes, and I actually had that myself in a weird way when I
Really?
was doing the first book, because I'd never lettered before.
Mhm.
I've done drawings, I've painted, so uh, the other stuff I didn't have to learn from scratch. But the only thing I knew about lettering is you never use Comic Sans. That is the
Yeah,
only thing I knew.
yeah.
And I kept trying to say like, okay, what font do I do? Um, well, you could really do whatever font you want to do. It's fine. And so I would letter a page and show it to somebody. Yeah, you shouldn't use that font. Okay, change the font up, which means I have to change all the bubbles and everything. No, you shouldn't do that. I'm like, just tell me what font then.
Yeah, there's obviously a font that you want me to use, so
Yeah, so that's the other reason I'm happy I got a letterer because he knows all that stuff. I think his lettering works really well for the book.
yeah, it does. It does. It definitely
So,
moves well.
and it was also interesting working with somebody else too because I can definitely be OCD about my work.
Hmm.
And he basically said to me at one point early on in the process, I am not going to let you micromanage me.
Hmm.
The lettering is mine. It's my artistic expression. If there are errors, we'll change that. If not, the letters are the letters, and I really appreciate that because it's a different perspective than what I would have just by myself.
Hmm.
It also, since is going to be working with me on the next book, it also is morphed my art a bit too, because my in my own head when I was thinking I was going to letter this, I would leave certain spaces open, thinking that's where the bubble's going to be, and then that is not where he put the bubble.
Oh, okay.
So now I'm like, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't leave all this negative space all over. He'll figure out where to put them. He knows not to cover up certain things. He knows what he's doing. So now I can have more detailed stuff, uh, which I appreciate.
Mhm. That works. Yeah, it pays to have a team. Plus the fact when you're working with people, it's easier to not procrastinate because you know eventually you have to get something to your teammates so they can do their job.
That is definitely true.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because I'm struggling with a little bit with procrastination on mine, but luckily my artist is like backed up, so he's so I have time. I have time.
That's good. It's I I have a weird process for writing the books. I
Hmm.
have like an outline, and then
Hmm.
I start doing the pages,
Hmm.
and then I either realize that I've got too much, or I'm not explaining something, I'm rushing something.
Hmm.
So I am kind of lucky that need the whole book pretty much done on my end
Hmm.
before I can send it out to somebody else.
Hmm.
But also, like you said, knowing that they're waiting uh, to get those pages does help quite a bit.
There you go. So do you have it? Any other pages to show off?
I have the one that's on the campaign.
Okay.
I can't do the letters on this one
Okay.
because that would spoil.
Okay.
But for color and art wise, better than the little thumbnail that was up.
Yeah. Again, I love the border on that.
Thanks. That's I was trying to match it to the border of the portals throughout the rest of the book.
Okay, that works. I like that. And I like how the creatures are just silhouettes as opposed to like actually showing them right now. It adds a little bit of mystery.
That thank you. That was my intention, and I actually have the monster from the first graphic novel I did in
Hmm.
here. Uh, so I was really tempted to color him in, but since it's a prequel, that wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So I on this page, there are two for sure that I
Hmm.
want to put in more books.
Hmm.
There's another one that I'd like to. I just haven't done enough research to figure out how he would fit into the story.
Okay.
But it was a lot of fun. I found several YouTube videos that were like top 10 Japanese monsters and top 10 Japanese gods.
There's a top 10 for anything on
Yeah.
YouTube.
So that's another bonus for me is I love learning about other cultures. And between that and having my friend in Japan where I can be like, so is this actually accurate? Because you live there.
Yeah,
Is this a thing? So it's really nice learning about stuff like that.
that's awesome. And and yeah, it definitely shows and the book looks fantastic, dude.
Thank you so much.
So in the meantime, do you have like a timetable on when this goes live?
Uh, the plan is to have it go live. I always say this funny, so I'm going to be very
Okay.
specific. 11:59 on the 24th, because I keep saying midnight the 24th, and people think that that means it'll be live on the 24th. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
technically the 25th, but right before midnight. So
Okay, that
25th
makes sense.
at midnight Pacific Standard Time.
I used to love that because it's like when I was in college, the professors would be like, "Okay, so just turn into me tonight at midnight." Oh, you mean tomorrow morning? I'm a little confused here.
Exactly. It's one of those things. It's I also have this with somebody where if I say next week or better next Monday, they think it I'm talking about the Monday that's coming up
Oh
and
yeah,
not the Monday that's afterwards.
yeah, yeah,
So I have to be like 9 days from now or 2 days from now.
yeah. Or like give a very specific date exactly. You really that's the way coordination is, I guess. But
Yeah, so
But yeah, it looks great. I'll have a link to all this in the description below. But before I let you go, I wanted to ask you one more question. What is your favorite comic book movie of all time? If there's one comic book movie that you would put in and say they nailed it.
oh, only one.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Let's go with like top five.
All right, I'm going to go with 89 Batman.
Okay, there you go.
And extra kudos there because I'm not a Tim Burton fan, but I love both of those movies.
Yeah, those are awesome.
He knocked them out of the park. Um, I would say the first Avengers movie.
Okay, yep, that was good.
Um, I want to say Endgame, but I don't think I can because it had a few little hiccups. If we're talking about like the best, the best.
Yeah.
Um, Joker with Joaquin Phoenix was surprisingly good. I'm looking
That was
forward
good.
to that sequel.
That's awesome.
Um, I respect the hell out of Dark Knight. Is it Returns? Heath Ledger's Joker. Is that Returns
Dark
or is
Knight.
that
It's just Dark
Rises?
Knight.
Okay. Uh, Not always my cup of tea,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a really, really good, well done movie that I think I could positively say was nailed.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Particularly in terms of Joker.
yeah, I there was something about Bale. I think it was the voice that
The
I don't know.
problem with that, I found out. So the thing is that in the first movie, that's Bale's like actual bad voice, but it hurt his throat like really bad. So they tried to do it with computers in the other two movies. That's why it got significantly worse.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, because if you notice, it got like really intense and really bad in the last two movies, and I'm like, why couldn't you go back to the previous one?
Yeah, it and I get it because he's trying to not sound like Bruce Wayne, but it was a little that was a little weird to me. Um, Heath Ledger was not the Joker in my head,
Mm-hmm.
but he brought it, and I have to get past that he's not the Joker in my head. That doesn't take away from his performance
Mm-hmm.
because I really love Nicholson as Joker, but those
Yeah.
two could not be further apart in how
Oh
they
yeah.
played him.
One's more cartoony, the other one's more mass murdery.
Yeah, that's a problem I have with Batman in general, where I needed to have some level of cartoony for me.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I can't take it seriously. We're in a serious reality with a dude dressed up like a giant bat. I need to have
Yeah.
I need to
Yeah.
have a little. You know what I mean?
That's true. That's true. But the thing I liked about Affleck when they gave him his suit, he actually had like a voice changer, so he didn't really have to like do a really intense Batman voice.
That he probably learned that lesson in Daredevil.
Yeah, yeah, because he didn't really have a good Daredevil voice, I don't think.
No, uh, I am surprised that with that movie on his resume, he got cast as Batman.
Yeah, well, it's because I think what Zach did is he casted them as their secret identities first because he figured that the superhero identity is just the expression of is just the extension of their regular civilian identity.
Yeah, I can see that. That makes sense.
Mhm. So for
And
me, it's the Snyder cut because I'm a huge Justice League fan and a huge DC fan. I would say I'm not going to go full Snyder because that's most likely what I would do. But obviously, Wonder Woman, the first one, just be clear, it's the first one
yeah,
because that second one does not exist. The first one is freaking awesome because, particularly, also how they handled the whole thing of feminism because they made the guys not useless.
yes, and I also really appreciated they addressed the problems of the time,
Mm-hmm.
but didn't linger on them for the whole movie.
Which I could say Captain Marvel did the complete opposite of that. But yeah.
I thankfully did not watch that one.
Dude, it will infuriate you. Trust me.
Yeah, my best friend saw it and he's like, I hate this cat, dude. Like,
Yeah.
there's this cat. I want to punch the cat, and he's an animal lover. I'm like, if the cat in the movie is making you that mad, I don't think I want to see this.
Let me put it this way: they explain why Nick Fury, how Nick Fury got the eye patch, and it's so
Yeah, oh
bad.
yeah, he told me.
Oh yeah. Third is Batman Begins because I love the suit. I love the vibe of it and how he managed to like make Batman semi-realistic, even though he's still a dude dressed as a bat that has a lot of money. And four is the 89 Batman movie because of just the history surrounding it and how important it was to the comic book genre. And then Deadpool.
I was tossed up for my fifth one if it was going to be
Mm-hmm.
Deadpool or Wonder Woman, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
because they're both great in their own unique way. It's
Mm-hmm.
Deadpool perfectly from everything I know about that character. That movie was spot on.
Plus the fact it made fun. It basically made fun. It's very self-referential, particularly in like when you look at how it made fun of the X-Men Origins Deadpool. That's not Deadpool, but still, but
Yep.
how they basically make fun of the entire suit. They made fun of Green Lantern. He goes, "Don't make the super suit green or animated."
Yep. I also love the which one, McAvoy or Stewart? Your timelines are confusing.
Or like when he's walking away and he goes, "It's funny how it's always you two. It's like the studio couldn't afford more than 2 X-Men."
Yeah, I'm very interested to see Hugh Jackman come back as Wolverine
Oh
in Deadpool
yes.
3.
Yes, if ever there was a reason to watch that beyond it being Deadpool 3, it's Hugh Jackman coming back as Wolverine.
Yeah, because I don't know if he's going to play it the same or if it's going to be a little bit more lighthearted or even gruffer.
I
Uh,
could see it being kind of more lighthearted, but more like because I could see like Wolverine like being really annoyed with Deadpool, and that's like the joke between the two.
yeah, I could also see him taking the claws to Deadpool because he's like, "What? You'll heal."
Yeah, exactly. He's like, it doesn't matter, you'll heal. Yeah, exactly. But and the other, I'm like, and I still enjoy Deadpool 2. I did like that one line where Deadpool goes, "So dark, you're sure you're not from the DC universe?"
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah. That's why I love these movies because I like the movies that make fun of themselves, and that's basically making fun of every superhero trope. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
I actually will say the was it Batman Forever, Batman and Robin,
Yeah,
the one with Arnold as Mr.
that
Freeze.
was Batman and Robin.
That is not a good movie.
No,
It is
no.
enjoyably bad to me though.
Well, yeah, it's so bad it's good that you have to watch it. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, the
it's
bad. It's just the minute it starts off when he comes in, he goes, "Hey, Freeze, I'm Batman," and I'm like, first off, we know you're Batman because you're dressed as a bat suit, and that's really your "I'm Batman."
yeah. But I do love that it tried so hard to capture the ridiculousness of the Adam West show,
True.
but it was also trying to look high budget and like serious at the same time. I'm like, you cannot do both of these at once. I'm sorry. You
Yeah,
can't.
you just
I
can't.
love Arnold and his one-liners, but that is his entire character.
Yeah, and the freeze that they were trying to impersonate, like in the comics, is not one to put like every single ice pun. He'll put a few of them, but not every single one. I'm like, okay, we get it.
Yeah,
But
you like
my,
ice.
yes, we get it. My honorable mention is Captain America 2: The Winter Soldier. That was like the most perfect MCU movie I think we've ever gotten.
That one is really good. My only issue with it is not directly it's the but what about Bucky that we get for the rest of the MCU.
Yeah, that's true. It does lead to that whole. It's like that's the whole plot of Civil War, isn't it?
Yeah, and I get it, war buddy, brother in arms. I got that. It worked really well, but it was just weird to me how he was so willing to like throw everything else away for Bucky.
And Bucky
And
murdered people.
yeah, and I was also a little disappointed that Bucky didn't become Captain America.
I know.
And that's
I,
nothing against Falcon. It's
mhm.
he's also a super soldier, so it just made more sense,
Yeah.
especially after that awesome scene when they're both fighting Iron Man in Civil War.
Yes. Yes, that was awesome. And plus, if you read the Ed Brubaker run of Captain America, that's what happened. So I'm like, oh, come on. I mean,
Yeah,
I like Falcon as Cap. I kind of enjoyed Falcon the Winter Soldier for the most part, but I just wish it were Bucky getting the shield.
yeah, but say la vie, I guess. I just wish they could have done something to make him a super soldier if they were going to go with Falcon.
Yeah,
And I heard,
because it doesn't make sense. He's throwing that shield around. It's coming back at him with that at force. It just doesn't work.
yeah, but you can only do what you can do. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a good character, actor's good.
Mhm.
It's just one of those things like a Batman type character or an Iron Man type character. I don't care who's replacing them because they don't have superpowers.
Yeah,
As
exactly.
long as long as they've got the same like intellect level to be able to do the gadgets and the detective, and
Mhm.
I don't care. I do get a little like, but this person has a superpower. This person does not have a superpower. Why are these going together?
Yeah, it's like when Batman, air quote, died at the end of Final Crisis, and then Nightwing became Batman. That made sense because you don't need powers to be Batman. But it's almost like if Superman died and Batman took up the mantle of Superman. It doesn't work.
Exactly.
It just
I,
and you know the mainstream comic book industry is gonna try and push that for as long as they can.
yeah, and I wish they would just come up with new cool characters.
With and that's my issue because here's the thing: they talk about they want to represent people, and I'm like, that's fine. I'm totally fine with that. But you have an encyclopedia worth of characters that are fantastic, like Midnighter, Apollo, John Stewart, Green Lantern, that they don't use.
Yeah, I when I was buying the comics, they had just come out with a new run, and I'm spacing on the name. But it was all new characters, and there was one named Silencer, and
Okay, I
I
know what you're talking about.
absolutely loved that character.
Yeah,
She was great, and that run stopped, and I don't think they've done anything with her since. And I guess
she's
I'm
shown up in the Wonder Woman book occasionally.
yeah, good writing. I love the she's a mom aspect of it, and I think it's like the first one she's having a fight while her kid's in the back seat in a car seat,
That's
and I think
awesome.
I think she uses like John Wick style. Like the kid had just gotten colored pencils, so she uses them during the fight.
That is so good. I love that scene in John Wick where he kills someone with a book. That was awesome. But I'll tell you, one of the other characters that was actually really cool is Damage, because what they did, he's Hulk, but he can only stay in his Hulk form for an hour. And the first arc, he fights and beats Wonder Woman. So they immediately tell you this dude is really powerful.
That is a good way of doing that.
Yeah, exactly. So on that note, I think it's a good place to leave it. Ty, thank you for coming on the show. Where can one find you and support your work?
Well, the pre-launch campaign, I'm using that as a way to do an email list.
Mhm.
So if you sign up there with the email, I'm going to be sending updates and let people know when I have new books or a new perk or anything. Because apparently, Indiegogo does not always inform people when I do
Okay.
updates.
Hmm.
So you can get in touch with me there. I'm also on Twitter at Ty the Comic Guy, or at Ranger Tyon, because I
Hmm.
it was stupid when I signed up, and
Hmm.
that's Tyion. Um, and that's pretty much it. I do have a YouTube channel, but I don't use it, so I don't think I will plug that.
Okay. And by the way, Taladia and Xerox are just here to piss me off because they know how much I hate the pairing of Wonder Woman and Batman. Ah, jeez. That's a running thing on the show if you've noticed, because they know I don't like that, so they'll just bring it up constantly throughout the show just to piss me off. Ah,
Well, at
that's
least that means that they're fans.
yeah, yeah. Here's the thing: Talati's a co-host, so it's not even like he's a fan. He sits here with me every week, but that's just comics league fun. But anyway, everyone, stay heroic. I'll have all of Ty's links in the description below, so you all can go follow him and check out the book. So stay heroic, everyone, and I will see you around. Thanks. Bye bye.